Have you ever seen a normally calm person completely lose their sh*t? What happened? I was chilling at a friend's house as a kid. His dad was the chillest nicest guy. That day, my friend's mom, also super nice, was across the street talking to the neighbor about something that I can no longer recall. Neighbor was one of those guys who never respected common etiquette, music blaring, parking his shitty boat in front of other people's house, cars parked on the lawn. The neighbor started screaming at HR mom and we all went out on the stoop to see what was happening. As soon as we got outside, the guy called my friend's mom a cunt. Well, my friend's dad heard that and went full Hulk mode. He ran screaming across the street and just fucking decked the guy and crouched over him shouting warnings and threats. Took a while for his wife to calm him down. I don't think any of them had ever seen him react to something in that way, maybe even the dad himself. Warnings and threats after conking him in the face. This is exactly how villains should be explaining their evil plans. One of my teachers in high school was the calmest dude. Never yelled, never told kids off, would just laugh and smile and wait for us all to calm down and then continue with his teaching. One day we must have been particularly rowdy and we weren't calming down like we usually did. He couldn't get a word in edgeways. I could see him getting increasingly frustrated and eventually he just bellowed "Choo pee 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 pee" and the entire class was shocked into silence. He never had to do it again. LMAO. Reminds me of a Vietnam vet history teacher we had. Everyone would always ask a related question to know he would just go off about for the rest of the period if we didn't feel like going on about whatever today's topic was. Everyone always found out later that he lost 3 of his 4 kids to cancer due to his Agent Orange exposure. I worked as a line cook with a chef who I became really good friends with. Really chill dude, easygoing, and actually super fun to cook with. He taught me most of what I know about cooking, and I owe him a lot for my success. Never really saw him get mad until one day, we were getting slammed during busy night, and one of the servers said something that really ticked him off. Not sure if I ever heard what it was, but next thing I knew he had sent the deep fryer basket flying at Mach 1 across the kitchen, nearly missing the dish skid and shattering a light bulb. He stormed off, and 5 minutes later after a smoke break, came back and casually continued cooking, as if nothing had happened. He apologized about it the next day and we never talked about it again. The restaurant industry is a stressful place. Oh yeah, when the servers start asking stupid questions it's very easy to get pissed. There was one particular time when Matt got super glue in his eye while on the line. Trying to continue to control the chaos of the kitchen, he goes into the back and you hear 3 loud bangs up against the side of the building. Dude had a sledgehammer he swung when he had so much pent up anger. That wall still has all the damage from him 5 years later. When I was in my late teens I was financially irresponsible and borrowed money from my grandparents to move out of my mom's house. We made a plan on how I would pay it back in installments and I only missed 2 payments. With each one I called my granddad and asked if it was okay. He was always cool about it. One day I got a call from him and he was livid, screaming at me on the phone and I could hear my grandmother crying in the background. He was the angriest I've ever heard anyone in my life and I was terrified. He wanted to know why I hadn't made the payment that month, but I was sure I had. It turns out I had accidentally set the automated payment to be drawn from the wrong account and it hadn't done it. It was an honest mistake on my part and I explained that to him. I transferred the money immediately and he instantly calmed down. I later found out he had become an alcoholic after he quit smoking and he would talk to my grandmother like that regularly when no one was around. Sounds terrifying and a sad situation. It was really sad. I always loved my granddad and I continued to love him until the day he died. But that whole situation really shook me. I guess if we are looking for a silver lining, my grandmother called me the next day and told me about their problems. It brought me a lot closer to her and brought into perspective something I had never really thought about, that grandparents are people with flaws and dreams, and that relationships aren't always what they seem at surface level. I used to see this woman in my building every day. Very friendly. We always checked on each other's lives. We had lunch a few times over the years. It was friendly to a certain degree. A couple years passed. She was much older than me. One day, riding the elevator, She told me that she was saying goodbye. I said I was sorry to see her go and asked why. She said she was retiring that day. I asked if her office was throwing a party or if she was celebrated. She turned to me and her face contorted into an image of rage. She clenched her teeth and said she didn't tell anyone in her office, including her bosses. She only told the HR person last week. This was her last day and she was never returning to see or talk to anyone in her office again. I can understand her. When workplace becomes so unbearable that you don't even want to see the faces again. I had a friend who was in his 60s, a functioning alcoholic, but he was the most calm and composed guy I have ever known. He never used to raise his voice or swear. Everything was done with meticulous precision. He once explained to me that if you use vulgar language and shout all the time, then you will have nowhere to go when you really do get angry. I had worked with him for about 3 years, never heard him raise his voice or swear before. The week before he had been shafted on his pay and the manager promised to get it sorted by Friday. Friday rolled around and it had not been sorted. So when my friend walked up to the manager in the open office and declared loudly, "Where the fuck is my money? You promised this would be resolved." The whole office went silent and the look of dread on the manager's face was haunting. The money was in his account by the end of the day. That was him losing his shit. Edit. Spelling. This is not my story but my dad's. Growing up, his best friend Leaf was a quiet, shy guy that was a bit socially awkward. In school he wasn't physically bullied, but this one kid teased him constantly. This would have been late 50s, early 60s, so kids were expected to just tough it out. My dad would usually confront the kid, but one day a girl runs up to him and says that Leaf and the kid are fighting. My dad runs over to save Leaf, but when he breaks through the circle he finds the bully flat on his back, Leaf sitting on his chest, holding him by the ears and smashing his head into the pavement over and over. My dad tackles him, wrestles him to the ground and screams at him, asking what he's doing. The thing that stayed with me from that story was how he described it. It was like there was nothing in there. I felt like I could see the back of his skull through his eyes. Luckily they were kids, so the damage was serious but limited. The bully escaped with stitches and a concussion and Leaf had to talk to the school psychologist. My dad and Leaf stayed best friends, and when I met him as an adult he was still quiet but less shy and awkward. It takes a lot to make my mom yell. On the rare occasion she did yell, it still felt like she had self-control. Like she yelled on purpose, because there was a reason to yell, like she needed to be that loud for us to hear us, or one of the kids needed to learn to never run into traffic again. But one morning, when we were teenagers, my brother was being really difficult, and my very sweet, soft-spoken mother yelled, "God damn it, Sean," and threw a butter knife down so hard it stuck 1/4 inch deep in oak hardwood floor against the grain. I can still hear the noise it made. We were all very well behaved for the rest of the day. I did eventually ask my mom why she did that. Her explanation was that she felt she was too angry to hold a knife, even a butter knife, and was trying to get it out of her hand before she did something stupid. I used to do seasonal work sorting tax returns. Like 500 people in a warehouse size room sorting through returns, stacking them in boxes, etc. This one guy on my team, huge dude, a gentle giant, really nice. Suddenly one day he smashes the table he's working at, then flips a big box full of paperwork. It flew over my head and 20 feet away. He threw the table out of his way then stormed out. Turns out he was getting his paycheck garnished for something or other. If the garnishment was for back taxes, the irony of the situation would have enraged me too. What does garnished mean in this situation? Mechanic I worked with is getting verbally abused by a customer claiming he ripped him off. Guy's going off saying all sorts of racist shit, then stepped up like he was gonna swing. Henry beat him to the punch, literally. Then he calmly walked to the back office and called the cops on himself. What did the cops do? Arrest Henry for defending himself. They took a report and told the guy he wasn't welcome in the shop any longer. Henry went back to the brake job he was working on. Absolute Chad. Henry ain't got time for this BS. Brakes won't fix themselves. My mom. We had what we now refer to as the Jerry Springer Christmas when I was 7 or so. One aunt hated her sister-in-law and started screaming at her. Then shoving started. Husbands got involved. Then it just continued to devolve from there. My mom went straight into mediator mode and tried to calm everyone down, but it wasn't working. She decided to come check on us kids and found my cousin and me holding each other and sobbing because we were scared. The next thing I hear is her scary mom voice screaming over everyone, "Listen here you motherfuckers. My kid is in there crying on Christmas because her family can't keep their shit together for the one day a year we all see each other. You're gonna march your asses into that room single file and apologize to each kid individually. Then you're going to shut the hell up until I get them out of here. We are going to go find look at lights and this family better be the picture of goddamn Christmas joy by the time we get back." My mom never really cussed in front of me and only ever used GD when things were really bad. That side of the family didn't celebrate Christmas for a few years after that. Edit. Thank you for the awards and kind words. Ma is tickled pink at all of the comments about how wonderful she is. I tell her every day how lucky I'm to have her. All I can picture is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Gonna be the happiest set of assholes this side of the nut house.